So you just literally, it's tutorial Tuesday. Okay,
What
ready?
do you do with your hands?
I just do that. I just do whatever. It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I'm literally just doing that. I guess I do that. I've never really thought about it, but that is what I do. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. It's Tutorial Tuesday! Welcome back to Tutorial Tuesday, where each and every Tuesday we bring you a brand new, fresh photography tutorial. Now this week, I'm joined by Matilda, who you may have seen in some other Pod Cameras videos. She does loads of modeling for me. She models in camera reviews, in lens reviews, in tutorials, all kinds of stuff. I'll pop her Instagram up as well so you can go and check her stuff out if you want to. But of course, today we're going to talk about how to pose your non-model friends, or how to pose someone who's not a professional model. Now, Matilda, obviously, when she started out with me, was basically doing me a favor. She's kind of grown into being a model now, and you actually do like professional modeling a little bit as well, but really only with me. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we made it easier at the start when maybe you weren't so comfortable, because you know, it's quite intimidating having a camera pointed at you the whole time. So we're gonna go through a few tips to make it easier if you want to do some photo shoots with maybe some friends, or maybe someone who you want to use as a model, but you don't really want to pay someone to be a model for you if you want to test out some portrait stuff. So the first thing kind of for me as the photographer was always that it was important, and this is actually not even photography related, but if you're traveling to the location together, or if you're meeting there, we obviously generally travel together, but is to have nice kind of friendly, light chats when you're on the way there, so that everyone feels kind of at ease and not awkward.
And it takes the pressure off, and you know, it makes you just not think about necessarily being
Yeah.
in front of a camera. So
Makes you feel less formal and kind of full on,
definitely.
and less intimidating, I guess, because it's more like you're hanging out and more like you're kind of just having a
it's a
friendly
better
time.
experience, you know. It's
Yeah.
like you know, hanging out with a friend, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Which I think, yeah, like you say, exactly takes the pressure off. So we would often talk about just sort of day-to-day stuff and what's going on in our lives, and fun stuff and films and all kinds of things in the car on the way to a location, and then setting up the location, kind of so that it doesn't feel like this build-up to a photography shoot, especially if you're not familiar with kind of posing for that, because that does feel really intimidating. And that actually kind of leads me on to another point about communication, which I try to do, which is when we're actually doing the photography shoot, as soon as you put the camera up to your eye as the photographer, you're creating this kind of wall between you and the model. So I generally will try and bring it down after every shot or every couple of shots and actually give some sort of feedback. So usually it'll be positive, but something like, oh, that looks really good. Oh, nice, maybe turn your head a little bit to the left or something like that, which hopefully makes it feel a little bit less like, you know, in silence it's kind of weird. It makes it feel...
Yeah, and you kind of can position yourself, and you're not only thinking about, am I doing this wrong, but you have some guidance.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Takes the kind of, again, the formality out of it and makes it maybe more of a fun time, which is just better for everyone. And then of course, talking about posing, which is kind of the main kind of part of this video. That's always the hardest thing, I think. I mean, I'm obviously as the other photographer, it's easier for me because I'm behind the camera, but I guess for you, posing is the hardest part, I guess, because we were talking about it earlier, but you don't know always what to do with your hands. That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it feels very unnatural what you're doing, but through the camera, actually, it doesn't. It just looks quite normal.
Yeah.
But to you yourself, as you do it more, you will just feel more natural.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, when we started out, something that is kind of weird is where to look as the model. So whether am I supposed to be looking at the lens? Am I supposed to be looking, where do you want me to look? But
And what helped me was when Gareth said, you know, look at this leaf, look at that branch, you know, or look at my hand. He put his hand out.
Yeah, like over to one side or over like that, and look at that. So it kind of, we'd usually start off with looking off camera. So focus on, like I said, like the branch or a leaf. And then that gives this nice kind of off camera stare, which always looks good. And then you can build up to just looking straight down the lens. And then as you get more comfortable, and of course, once you get the first few photos out of the way, I guess the whole thing starts to feel more or less intimidating, because you've done, let's say you've been shooting for 10 minutes, that's then easier than at the beginning, do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
'Cause
You
you-
get more comfortable and you
Yeah.
adjust to the environment as well that you're shooting in. So.
Yeah, totally. That's true actually as well. And also having something that your model can interact with helps a little bit as well. So we used to do things like playing with leaves on trees, or like have a little flower, or even I used to take photos of you because we had loads of cameras lying about. I used to take photos of you actually taking photos of something else, or taking a photo on your phone, or drinking a coffee. Anything like that kind of helps to take the posiness out of it. So where you're just stood there looking at the camera and it's just you, that's kind of a little bit more awkward. But if you've got a prop, camera, coffee, plant, something like that, it can make it a little bit more natural, a little bit easier to kind of get to grips with. Now, if you've got a specific pose that you want to go for with your model, if you maybe you're trying to recreate a certain photo that you've seen, or there's something in particular that you think you want to go for as the photographer, something which I think really helps and takes the kind of awkwardness out of it again is to actually, as the photographer, go and do the pose for your model so that they know exactly what you're talking about, as opposed to trying to explain this weird kind of convoluted thing. So for example, there's situations we've had in the past where I've wanted to do a photo, which is kind of weird, but it's where you've had your arm like over your head a bit like this, but it looks really strange and feels really strange to do it, but it looks good in the photo. But there's no good way to explain this, so you just sort of have to do it as a pose for your model, so that they can kind of copy it, basically. I think that makes it easier. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And we've also used like reference pictures before of, previous pictures we've just seen on Instagram or on the internet, and we thought, oh, we'll use that as a reference, and it's just helped us out.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Almost like a template kind of.
That is actually a really good point. Yeah, if you have pictures that you like in the past, it never hurts to have those saved or bookmarked somewhere so that you can on the shoot show your model and talk about poses like that. It also sometimes helps to direct rather than pose. So rather than specifically kind of, okay, move your arm 2 inches to the left and then turn your face and then and then put your hair exactly like that. Sometimes it can help to kind of give more of an emotional feel. So we always talk about like pouty stuff and stuff like that, but it actually does help, I think, as opposed to me being like, right, move your lips slightly forward and then open them, it doesn't work so well. But directing, having an emotion or having a kind of, right, look off into the distance and kind of think about, I don't know, something dramatic, that can sometimes work better than the very specifically posing, because very specifically posing can make them feel really awkward, I think.
And uncomfortable. And,
especially if you're not used to it on like a professional level, that can start to get a little bit awkward. How would you choose your outfit for a shoot? So if I've contacted you and said let's go do a photo shoot somewhere, how would you pick what you're gonna wear?
Well, I think it all depends on where we're going. Like a few months ago, we went to Sheffield Park, and it was like a wooded area, and so I thought, right, it's we've got the autumn leaves out. I thought I'll go for something like a jumper, and it had similar colours to the leaves, and I wore dark jeans and like just some casual trainers, and it all kind of tied in. And I was thinking about the colours, the style of clothing I was wearing to go with the season that we were in. So
basically like matching your style to the environment and to the weather and stuff like that. So for example, that one you said, Sheffield Park, that was very autumny, and you had a very kind of red, yellow and blue jumper on, I think.
Yeah,
which was perfect for autumny stuff. Yeah, it went really well with the colours that were around us. Yeah, and I think you're right. We've done stuff in the winter before as well, where we use scarves to kind of then pull over the face and stuff like that. That could be a really good way of kind of breaking the awkwardness. You can actually, we were talking about it before, but you can use your clothes kind of to your advantage in making, giving you something to do, whether you're pulling your hood up, scarf. Yeah, we've done loads of stuff
or
like that.
In the summer, we use lots of sunglasses,
That's
hats.
True.
Yeah. And just
that can be a great way of kind of giving you something to do with your hands. And I always feel like performing an action of some sort seems less awkward than just kind of having to stand there and pose if you're not used to it. If as a photographer, if I say to do something, that can feel less weird. I think that can make it easier.
It takes your mind off having to just be in front of a camera.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are our tips for posing your non-model friends. Of course, non-model friends can kind of end up becoming model friends as well, like in the case of Matilda. But those are tips for someone who doesn't necessarily feel comfortable in front of the camera, how you can make them feel a bit more at ease, a little bit more comfortable with what they're doing If you have any questions about anything you saw in the video, of course, pop it down in the comments. I'll put a full list of all the equipment used for various photos and things like that throughout the video down in the description as well, so you can go check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video if you enjoyed it. Even if you didn't enjoy it, you know, give it a like. What does it cost you? Nothing. So I reckon just give it a thumbs up. But either way, we've got new content all the time, tutorials, reviews, loads of stuff. So definitely worth your time subscribing. I will, of course, see you in the next video. Matilda probably will, maybe. She's in a lot of them. I mean, not necessarily in front of the camera like this, but photos. So maybe you'll see Matilda, who knows. But I'll certainly see you in the next video. And as always, thanks for watching.